Welcome again, and if I can ask you first about the local elections, David Cameron's been very careful not to put a figure of success on the elections. But surely you've got some idea what would be a good night for the Conservatives. Should we be expecting gains across Greater Manchester?
Well, we hope to gain seats in places like Bury and Bolton, and we're fighting hard in Whalley Range to get a fantastic local candidate, Fawad Hussain, elected. So, you know, obviously we hope to do well, but with a week to go, we're not going to take anyone for granted. We're not going to make predictions, and we'll let voters decide. But you can see from the number of visits and the involvement of the Conservative Party in all sorts of local issues. For example, I was in Edgerton Road South campaigning to save a post office this morning, that the Conservatives are now deeply engaged in local issues here in Greater Manchester.
There's still a credibility gap for the Conservatives in the inner cities.
Well, we've got to fight hard for people's votes, and we've got to make sure that people understand what our messages are. So issues like this 10p tax rate rise from Gordon Brown, that really affects people living in central Manchester. There are in fact across the northwest, about 500,000 people who are worse off, and these are some of the lowest paid people in the northwest. So by campaigning on issues like that, both our local candidates and the national politicians of the Conservative Party are, I hope, directly communicating with people and saying we understand the problems you're facing at the moment, in this case with a rising cost of living and higher taxes, and we can be your representatives both on local councils but also in Parliament.
Is it no longer the case that Labour are the natural party of places like Manchester?
Well, I certainly don't think, if Labour treats themselves as the natural party anywhere, then they're riding for a fall, because they are treating the public as fools and they're taking Manchester for granted. That's one of the reasons I think they're in some trouble, that they're not actually out there listening to people, not actually seeing problems in this country through the eyes of the voters who are, as I say, struggling, for example, with a rising cost of living at the moment. Now that's an opportunity for the Conservatives to speak for these people, and what we've got to be is not just an opposition, not just pointing out where Gordon Brown's made mistakes, but also offering real solutions, things that are going to make a difference to people. So we've got plans, for example, to help keep these post offices in Greater Manchester open and make sure that they remain at the heart of communities like Whalley Range. We've also got plans in Manchester to stop the congestion charge. I mean, that's going to cost people in their pocket just to drive around the city, and we think that central government down in Westminster shouldn't be bullying local government in Manchester to have congestion charging. So these are really practical issues that people can say, if I voted Conservative both next week for the local elections but also when the general election comes, they're going to make a big difference to Manchester, and they're going to make a difference to my life, and it's going to be a difference for the better.